Nagandi's going to join us in about 15, 20 minutes from now.
Well, that's fitting. So Sal Pal into Kevin. Those are the guys that ran up the Rocky steps together. That's fitting.
Who won that race yesterday, you or Nagandi?
I kind of let him make it an even race. I didn't want to show him up on the steps. So I he was lagging behind, and I kind of slowed down a little bit. You tell him I said that on the air, okay?
Former Navy man and a
Actually,
former Temple guy.
Why don't you play that for him and say, here's what Sal said about the Rocky steps.
All right, we got that.
I don't want to he's the best. Kevin is the best. I said on my Instagram that he is a sports center genius, and he really is. He's a genius on the air. And Mike, it was kind of fun. We did all those live shots, him in Bristol, me in South Philly, all those years, holding up newspapers, hanging out, talking sports, talking Eagles, bad times, good times. And to share the stage with him on the Rocky Steps, truly a great experience. Beautiful, surreal and beautiful.
Follow Sal Pal ESPN on Instagram to find the video of him running up the steps with Kevin and some other great video from yesterday, including you and Kevin, with the escort to the parade and just two guys. In one of the videos that I watched that you sent me, Sal, it says it was Philly. So kind of encapsulate what was so Philly about yesterday? You said, I've been covering this team for 25 years, and yesterday it was Philly.
It was happy. It was angry. It was rambunctious. It was over-the-top passion. It was a total love fest with a team that has been denied for so long and a city that's been denied for so long. And, you spell fanatic with a PH. You also spell fatalism with a PH. And yesterday, it was the confluence of those two things. And I think all that bad history has been finally erased, Mike Gill. It was quite amazing. I'm not an Eagles fan per se. Didn't grow up in Philly. But I'm a real big fan of the best story. And I think I said that to you on your radio program in a row, and the best story won. Nick Foles beats Tom Brady in a fourth quarter comeback drive. And I'm a fan of this team. This team is special. I've covered a lot of football teams. There's a real brotherhood on this team. It's not fake in any way. That relationship between Carson Wentz and Nick Foles is absolute. Two brothers bunking, in bunk beds in the same room as kids growing up. That's how close they are. They don't fight. They don't have any envy or jealousy between the two of them. They're a couple of straight-laced dudes who really like each other, hanging out with one another, and it's really great to see.
Yeah, Sal, we had Jeff Mosher on earlier, and he said this wasn't a season, Mike. This was a story. And it seemed that this story began in 2013 with Nick, and then it kind of, had this alternate, middle period, and the ending. How fitting is that here's this kid in 2013 people thought might have been the guy, and he wins the MVP of the Super Bowl all these years later. It's almost like the journey, you couldn't come up with a better – somebody's got to get a script out there, right?
Yeah, maybe it'll be me.
Well, I know that you got a chance yesterday to be on that float and talk to Doug. And there's so many people who are saying it hasn't sunk in, it hasn't hit me. But when they saw Doug down Broad Street holding that trophy – what kind of feeling did you get from him? Like, did it hit him a little bit? Because it seemed like it did a little bit when he was talking to you.
It did, Mike, didn't it? And the look on his face was one of total stunned disbelief at the size of the crowd and the outpouring of love and support that these players and coaches were getting. And nobody expected the crowd to be that big on a 5-mile parade route. I don't know what the numbers were. It doesn't really matter. It felt and sounded like 10 million people.
Yeah.
And I think Peterson was stunned by it.
I think, watching that video, and if you check out Sal's Instagram account, you can watch that very interview with Doug Peterson, and you see him just kind of in disbelief holding the Lombardi trophy up and just kind of showing it to people. And Roseman's up there, and he's just waving. I mean, it just was a surreal look there. And for, as you said, someone who really associated nationally covering this team locally, to see it all kind of the crescendo there, boom, it had to just be an unbelievable feeling for those guys up on that. Like, did you hear anything up on those floats that, the fans aren't privy to that kind of stood out to you that was like, when they're looking at the people?
When I was up there, it was at the end of the parade, Mike. I was on the Ben Franklin Parkway at that point. So they were already, 2.5 hours into it. The parade lasted 30 minutes longer than anticipated and scheduled. So those guys were like, man, how big is this crowd? Because once you get to the Rocky Steps, then the real size of the crowd is overwhelming because it's so expansive. It goes, all the way from Callow Hill Street to the bridge leading over the Schuylkill to the University of Pennsylvania.
Right.
That's a lot of territory, man. And it was wall-to-wall human beings. You couldn't take a step. You couldn't move.
I think that parade, it was something, Sal, you said you've been covering for 25 years, but there's people that have been waiting their whole lives for that moment yesterday. That moment, did you get a chance to just talk to some of the people?
I did. I talked, it was young and old. It was grandchildren and grandfathers. It was grandmothers and nieces and nephews. It was black and white. It was Northeast Philly. It was Northwest Philly. It was South Philly. It was Center City. It was lawyers and doctors and truck drivers and nurses and teachers and their kids. Everybody from every walk of life
awesome
has been touched by this team.
There's so much going back to the game. So many. I believe that's.
I know we haven't got chance.
Right. The game itself, Sal, the strip sack by Graham, to me, that might go down as the most important play. Maybe not the most memorable play. The Philly special might be the most memorable play, but the strip sack might be the most important play in the history of the franchise.
Brandon Graham saved that defense, Mike.
Yeah.
Mike, if they had lost the game, Jim Schwartz would have had to go into the witness protection program.
Both teams
gave up 600 yards of offense in the Super Bowl, and they won. All right, listen, me and you talking on Friday, Radio Row, and you say, Sal, Tom Brady's going to have 600 yards plus a total offense, score 33 points. I'm going to say, Mike, here, take all the money in my wallet right now. And bet the Pats. Go to AC and bet the Pats. Oh, you can't do it in AC. Go to Las Vegas and bet the Pats.
Maybe soon.
Right?
Right. No question about it. When we talked Friday, it was, how do you beat them? Well, the defense moves him off the spot, and they just disrupt him. Well, that
they
never
didn't move him at all.
Not at all.
The only time they got to him, the couple of times where they got close and they hit him, were when Brandon Graham's at left tackle, Chris Long's at left end, Fletcher Cox is at right tackle, and Derek Barnett is at right tackle. That's their normal front in passing situations. They don't blitz off that front. Sometimes they show 5 and blitz 4. Once in a while, they'll blitz a corner, but very rarely, or very, very rarely. Since Jordan Hicks went out, they don't blitz linebackers. Mm-hmm. Very, very rare. When they sacked Matt Ryan in that first game in Philly, that was a first down safety blitz. They didn't even have their third down defense on the field. So with left to right, Long, Graham, Cox, and Barnett, the hope is that Graham's going to beat the guard. Why?
Right.
Well, Brady had 5 guys in a route. So that means it's Brady, 5 guys in a route, that's 6, and 5 O-linemen, that's 11. So the center has to make a decision. Andrews has got to make a decision at that point. Do I double-team Cox, who's a beast and a Pro Bowler, or do I slide to the right, my right, and go after Graham on a double-team, thinking Graham's faster than Shaq Mason, the guard there? Andrews chose to go the wrong way. He went to Cox, left Graham one-on-one on Mason. Graham bull rushed Mason.
Yep.
Graham gets to Brady, strips him. Barnett gets the football. Earlier in the game, they had the same configuration dialed up. and Graham almost got to Brady. He did hit him, but he didn't sack him. And they thought maybe in the fourth quarter. You know, kudos to the strength and conditioning team for the Eagles, right?
Yeah.
That Graham would be in that kind of condition that he would beat Shaq Mason one-on-one in the final drive of this penultimate drive of the game.
And we talk about a story. Brandon Graham was the guy that nobody wanted. It was Earl Thomas. It was JPP. 8 years ago, here's the guy who gets his hand on the ball. Boom.
Yeah, but Earl Thomas did win a Super Bowl. I mean,
so did JPP.
That's a little revisionist history. I mean, the point is it was Howie Roseman's first pick. He called Andy Reid from the big house at Michigan. He was up in the nosebleed seats. And he called Andy Reid on the phone. He said, I got our pick. And it was Brandon Graham.
Wow.
It was a very controversial pick.
No doubt.
He called Andy Reid on a cell phone. It became a very controversial pick over the course of his career. And he made the biggest defensive play in franchise history, bigger than Jerome Brown and Reggie White and Clyde Simmons and Seth Joyner and Wes Hopkins and Brian Dawkins and Byron Evans, bigger than all those guys, bigger than all of them.
Great stuff. Sal, I don't know if you have one right off the top of your head, but the most underrated play of the game for me, Corey Clement's run. He stiff-arms that guy. He runs right through him. He will not be denied, and that sets up the Philly special. That play is not being remembered enough because of the Philly special, but that guy ran with more determination on that play than anybody else all night.
Corey Clement. I mean, if Nick Foles doesn't throw 3 and catch 1, which, of course, will go down in history, I mean, really, Corey Clement's my MVP.
Crazy.
On offense. I mean, I'm sure Corey Clement and Brandon Graham got a couple of votes.
I mean, how do you think that kid's feeling? Glassboro High, undrafted, and he has 100 yards receiving in the Super Bowl when they told him he couldn't catch.
He had 100 yards, right?
Yeah, 100 yards. 4 for 100.
Yeah, even 100. Yeah.
Crazy. Last thing here, by the way, Nelson Aguilar, you know, what an unbelievable, crazy turnaround he had. 9 catches in the game. Yesterday, Kelsey, he has so eloquently put all the detractors, but Aguilar, Jeffrey, the free agent, makes an unbelievable catch. But in the end, it was just a total team effort. And now Doug says this is the new norm. So the question is this offseason, when we're looking at the offseason ahead, what is the story of the offseason?
I'm not going to do that right now.
Fair enough.
I can't do it with it, brother.
Fair enough.
I can't. I'm still in parade mode.
Well, I will give you.
I mean, obviously, the one. Come on, you know what the number one story is. Is Foles going to be here in September?
Sure.
And I'll just say this, and this is how we will end Sal Pal Fridays.
Yep. On
your great program, which I've been privileged to join all year long, and I hope we do it next year too. We better be doing it next year. Here's how I'll end it. If Nick Foles is not on this team, I don't want to cover this team.
Wow. That's strong, Sal. That's a way to end it right there. Mic drop.
I got nothing else to say, brother.
All right,
Great season. Thanks for having me on the show.